Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chaotic Entertainment. I'm your host, Dan, and today I'd like to give my thoughts so far on Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. This video isn't a full review per se, but rather a my thoughts so far sort of thing. I haven't finished the game yet, and at the time of this recording, I'm about 6 hours in. I've been playing the PC port of this game, not the console version, so your mileage may vary, and please take everything I say with a little bit of grain of salt. Not to mention, the game just came out not too long ago, meaning there are a number of bugs that might get patched out or fixed soon. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed is a remake of the PS2 and Xbox title of the same name, and is developed by Black Forest Games and published by THQ Nordic. A bit of background, I never played the original version of this game, but I did complete the original version of the first one. In fact, my brother, my dad, and I all spent a week taking turns beating levels when the game first came out in 2005, and holy Christ, I'm fucking old. But when I learned a remake of the game was on the way, I knew I was going to end up pre-ordering it. For those who don't know, Destroy All Humans 2 is a third-person shooter with tons of comedic elements, wacky physics, and tongue-in-cheek humor. You play as Crypto, an alien from the Furon race who has been sent to harvest the brains of humans. The reason your people are snatching stems is because nuclear war left your entire race sterile, requiring that cloning be used to continue the existence of your species. Fortunately for you, your people came to Earth thousands of years ago and engaged in all sorts of wild orgies with all the humans, meaning your DNA has long been tucked away inside of them. Through careful, non-negotiable extraction of their brainstems, you're able to produce clones of your species that are able to produce natural offspring. The second game takes place after you've managed to conquer America, fooling the American population into thinking you're their human president. Everything was fine, then the USSR began their attack to liberate the American people as well as cleanse Earth of its alien invaders. Your mothership is destroyed, and you are left to fend for yourself in an effort to retake control and defeat the KGB. So, now that we have the plot out of the way, let's discuss the game. Is it any good? Kind of. Let me start by getting the positives out of the way. This game looks great. The graphics aren't super detailed, but the art direction makes that not really matter. Everything is cartoony enough that lower resolution textures and simplified character models look rather fitting. This is aided by the fact that things with coarse surfaces like denim and foliage have just enough grit and roughness to look realistic, but not outlandish on the goofy game models. The environments are also very eye-catching, almost surprisingly so. I've spent a lot of time just running around the maps, looking at everything I can just to find hidden collectibles and do some overall sightseeing. And honestly, I've enjoyed nearly every second of it. Likewise, the sound design in this game is absolute perfection. The voice acting is hammy and completely over the top in a way that's clearly intentional and self-aware. The music's pretty fitting as well, lending a lot of character and flavor to both exploration and combat. Soundtracks change based on environment and situation, with some buildings playing radios from their windows, or the game sound shifting when someone spots your character out of their disguise. The gunplay and special powers you have in this game feel solid as well, though I do have some criticisms. We'll dive into that later. But my overall thoughts are that the combat in the game is smooth enough for what it is. The plot overall has been pretty good. I wouldn't say it's been amazing, but it gets the job done. Overall, it's been very comedic, and it has a few moments of seriousness that never really feel out of place. I'm always excited for the next story quest, mostly because the interactions between the main characters are almost always interesting, and they feel pretty organic. Speaking of which, I'd like to take a moment and praise this game for sticking so close to its roots. There's a lot of edgy, less than PC humor in this game that clearly might be offensive to some, but the game makes no effort to hide that fact. To my knowledge, only one quest was removed for sensitivity's sake, but otherwise the game has been largely unchanged from its past self. Anytime a studio gets its hands on an IP and makes a point to stay true to the source material and not try to fix it, I'm always happy to give them a tip of my hat. That being said, this game is far from perfect. While the sound and graphics are excellent, this game is definitely missing some polish. I've experienced my share of frame losses from time to time, but there have also been several moments where the physics have just completely broken. NPCs spawning from nowhere, drivers staying where they are while cars continue down the road, physics objects getting stuck. There are a lot of minor technical issues. Some of them are so funny that I almost don't mind them, but it's fairly clear that they're not intentional. A more obnoxious bug that's minor but still frustrating is enemies can get stuck under vehicles when you try to abduct them with your saucer. This isn't game-breaking by any means, but it's definitely annoying when it happens repeatedly. I've also had a few crashes, one of which caused my entire computer to lock up. I was fortunate enough that the autosave in this game seems to work well, because had it not, I would have lost literal hours of progress. Instead, I just had to restart the mission I was doing, which still isn't great. Speaking of missions, there are a lot of them. In addition to the main story quest, you have a collection of side quests you can do. These quests are important, especially if you want to be able to upgrade your equipment, and they can be found all across the map. I'm not going to lie, these quests haven't been great so far. Some have been funny, but a lot of them feel repetitive very quickly. They're either escort quests, which are never fun, infiltration quests, which aren't challenging, or kill the enemy quests, which aren't very imaginative. These missions have bonus secondary objectives, but these range from so easy that I was literally going to do this anyways to I don't want to take 10 minutes out of my day to whack hippies with objects while I gather materials. Thank you very much. The rewards from these quests are great, but the quests themselves just don't feel that engaging. This is largely due to the lack of enemy variety, especially in the earlier parts of the game. Soldiers, police, secret agents, thugs, they all more or less fight similarly to each other. Sometimes the special weapons they can bring can shake things up, but otherwise they all feel very samey. This changes when the mutants and the spores are introduced to the game, but they're not in every fight. Anytime they show up, I find myself relieved to finally be fighting something different than 60 of the same police officer for 20 minutes. Otherwise, I often find myself getting bored in combat. The weapons that are available are nice, but of the 5 or 6 weapons that I have, I rarely ever find myself using more than 1 or 2. Psi powers unfortunately fall into a similar situation for me. I've had a pretty similar experience when it comes to saucer combat as well. I don't really care for the way the saucer handles when it comes to altitude and aiming, with either having straightforward shots or having to hold control to aim somewhat straight down, but not really. Some weapons are just objectively better than others, which I understand as you unlock them they're supposed to be, but it would be nice if that piece of equipment I spent all the time upgrading and making better was still relevant whenever something new comes along. Or sometimes the opposite happens, where I'll get a new weapon like the anal probe, and outside of certain combat encounters I just end up never using it. Don't get me wrong, the game is fun, but it has its moments where it feels a little like a slog. The saucer quests can be fairly fun, but I always feel like I'm just doing more of the same thing over and over. The game is sitting at an 84% approval rating on Steam, and honestly, that feels about right to me. It's a good game, but it definitely feels like there was room for improvement. Maybe it's because I don't have any nostalgia for this game like others, but I'm not overwhelmingly impressed with it. It's good, but I hesitate to call it great. This is especially troubling when the game is $40 right now. At this very moment, I'm not sure I can honestly say that it's worth the price tag. But I'll leave that up to you. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed gets a positive review from me so far, but with a rather large asterisk. Honestly, if they iron out the bugs, it might be worth the price, but for now, I'd say wait for it to go on sale or down in price. If you were a huge fan of the original game, however, it might be worthwhile to pick it up now. Either way, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more. If you want to help support this channel and what I do, Patreon and Subscribestar links are down in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.